There's only 24 hours in a day. I got a pair of earbuds and I wish there was a way that I could know just what I want to listen to. There's 150,000 shows that I'm not sitting through. When the world is dark and boring, let us do your exploring. Pod on pod. Pod on pod.
You want to do the intro?
I don't know what it is. Okay, I'll try to get home. What is it?
Welcome to Pod on Pod.
Welcome to Pod on Pod.
A guide to the world of podcasts.
A guide to the world of podcasts.
Because it's not your daddy's radio.
Because it's not your daddy's radio.
And we're your hosts.
And we're your hosts.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Josh.
Thanks. I wondered if I was going to have to prompt you on that part too.
You like my radio voice? That's my radio voice.
I do. That was good. It was an excellent vocal inflection there.
You want to try again? Here we go. I'm going to try for real. You ready?
Okay.
Welcome to Pod on Pod. Your something to the world of podcasts. You do it.
Welcome to Pod on Pod, a guide to the world of podcasts because it's not your daddy's radio. We're your hosts.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Joel. This week on Pod, we're going to be talking about Sklarbro Country.
Yes, not county.
Which I was very wrong about. I searched Sklarbro County. I tweeted at Sklarbro County. I wrote it in my notes as Sklarbro County. I discussed it with other people as, hey, you're listening to this really cool podcast, Sklarbro County.
It's country.
It's country. Why? They talk about county, though, at a couple of times in the show.
I think they get confused, too.
Why would you? I mean, it's you. I think you would need to be very clear one way or the other. Have they changed it maybe at some point in the show?
May have.
So this is supposedly a sports podcast.
It is a sports podcast.
Really?
And pop culture podcast. And it's on the Earwolf Network.
Okay.
I think this is our first Earwolf show that we're doing.
We do like to note network affiliation if there is
right. And it's a comedy podcast that takes a broad look at the world of sports and pop culture. They usually bring on a guest. They have a couple of segments they do usually is going to be a word that we use a lot with a show because usually certain things happen, but sometimes they don't.
You said they have a guest. Who's they, Josh?
The Sklar brothers, Randy and Jason Sklar. I was first introduced to these guys on Cheap Seats.
Cheap Seats. Cheap Seats is another podcast?
No, it was a show.
A television program?
About sports.
Oh, my. All right, then. The Sklar brothers are stand-up comedians. I've seen them on At Midnight.
They've been on all kinds of stuff.
Do they're stand-up, they're a partner? I mean, they're
they're
duo?
together. Yes.
That's kind of rare. Have you seen their stand-up?
Funny. Their first 1 hour special, I think you can stream on Netflix to now, currently.
I think it came out like a couple of Fridays ago. You're right. It is on Netflix right now. I have not seen it yet. I am looking forward to seeing it, though. It's supposedly very original and exciting.
Yeah. The show started in 2012, so they got some years under their belt.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it is an explicit show in that they curse, but not very frequently.
Not very frequently, and they have a very wide range of guests.
They do, and a wide range of topics. That's why I said it's supposedly a sports show.
Well, they'll have John Hamm, and then they'll have Terrell Owens,
who is a sportsman of some sort, I believe.
and then they'll have like Max Greenfield.
I don't even know him.
New Girl, you would know him from New Girl.
Except I wouldn't because I don't watch that show. But yes.
Fair enough.
Yes. I am familiar that is a television program and there are actors on it. He is one of them. The Sklar brothers, though, this is not their only podcast, am I right?
They may do some other ones.
I think they have like the Sklar Brothers podcast or something like that. Or maybe are they on Comedy Bang Bang maybe or
They've
something?
been on Comedy Bang Bang.
No, I mean like as regular guests. Hang on a minute. I'm going to look this up. The Sklar brothers, because they talk about it's. In one of the episodes that I listened to, they discussed it as this is one of our two favorite podcasts that we do.
So I guess they do too.
I'm assuming there's another one. Yes.
Well, what's important right now is this one.
Yes, my bad. All right. So how we do this thing on Pod is we review these shows based on 4 criteria: audio quality, host likability, production values, content. Then we're going to rate it for you out of 2 possible earbuds, each of us, for 4 for each individual show. Just like Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up, we'll give it 2 earbuds up if we really, really love it. So far, only one show's gotten the vaunted 4 earbud rating.
Yep, only one.
Let's get right to it. Why don't we talk first about audio quality? The best thing I can say about these guys is that they're co-located. The brothers do the show together.
Yes.
That's not very common in the world of podcasts. A lot of people doing it on Skype or over the internet somehow and piecing the show together. It's nice to hear people in a studio.
It always sounds better when they're in the same room.
Yeah. You don't have phone noise. You don't have the digital issues. Every now and again, they'll have a guest via phone.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of the show.
But those aren't real guests.
No. Well, they're guests.
Yeah, they're guests.
Yeah. But here's my biggest problem with the show, and it is in the audio quality section. They're brothers. Their voices are far, far too close to each other. I have a very, very hard time telling them apart, especially since they have a tendency to talk over each other.
Yeah, and I could not tell you when Randy is talking versus when Jason is talking at all, but it doesn't.
That doesn't affect it?
No.
See, if I was watching video, I wouldn't mind that their voices are so close together, and I'm sure
one wears glasses and one doesn't, by the way.
Well, see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And because their voices are so close, even though they introduce themselves and things, I don't even remember their names. Like but it doesn't matter. It's like that's brother A, that's brother B, and I'm not sure which one is which.
And Jason's often referred to as just Jay.
Well, look at that. But this, and there's nothing they can do about that. One of them can't. Unless I guess one could get castrated. Maybe it's too late for that probably to change his voice.
Just suck some helium during the whole show.
That would be a really interesting experiment to see if you could do a whole show.
Not without going to the hospital, man. That's ridiculous.
It'd be a brief podcast, is what you're telling me. All right, let's move on to host likability. How do you like the brothers? Did you knew them before?
Yeah, I knew them before. They have a chemistry that you only get with somebody by growing up with them.
Yeah, 30 years of hating and loving.
They have inside jokes, but they don't feel inside because of how they deliver them and how well connected they are to those jokes.
I think that's fair. And I'll agree. So the negative aspect of being brothers is that your voices sound too much alike. The positive aspect of it is there is a chemistry that can only come from family. You talk about, sometimes I hear singers talking about like family harmony. You have that brother-sister harmony or whatever.
Well,
the
setup to something and the finish to something are so quick.
Yeah, they've been telling that same sort of joke for 30 years. It's clear,
Yeah.
That moves us on to the production values, and this is something that you really wanted to talk about with the show because they run it a lot like, we jokingly say in this show, it's not your daddy's radio. They are kind of like your daddy's radio.
I hate it. I hate the ins. I hate the outs. I hate the underlay. I hate it.
You don't like it. And people, of course, do this on regular radio. If you listen to talk radio, when you're getting ready for a commercial break, generally, the producer signals that to the talent in lots of ways. But one of the ways they do it is a little music bed. Hey, there's a little bumper music under there. Can you hear, you got Jackson Brown hollering at you.
You're being played
wrap
off.
This up. That's right. And so you wrap up your point, you tease the next segment, and then you hit the sponsors. They do exactly that during this podcast.
Well, the aggravating part is, so say they're going from their cold open to introducing the guest. They take a music break in between those, even though everyone's in the same room. And then going from the guest interview into the segment, quick hits, there's also another music interlude. It drives me crazy.
I understand the desire because it's first of all, if you listen to the show when they're doing the music, they're really into the music. They pick songs that they like and bands that they like. A lot of times they get personal stories. Oh, I saw these guys in Berlin one time. It was amazing. They put on a great show. It's the such and such, and here's the album from 1984. There we go. And they go into it, but they talk over it so much you can't really appreciate the music. Anyway, I agree with you. It's not necessary. This is a hangover from another media that isn't necessary and in fact is detrimental in the world of podcasting.
It is the worst part of the show. If the show has a dark mark,
This is it.
This is it.
So let me ask you this. Well, okay, we'll use an example that we both listen to. We both listen to My Brother, and Me, Mabim.
Yeah.
They have one segment in the center of the show where they do their advertisements, call it the Money Zone.
Yeah.
And they have one theme song, a sounder, so to speak. They say, hey, let's go to the Money Zone. And then they play the thing, and then the music goes up, and it comes down, and then they're talking.
Doesn't bother me as much.
I agree. The length of the music played, the fact that they talk over it both ways, in and out, it just doesn't work for me. And I'll agree. I think it's the one real negative part of the show. And it totally falls on production
And
value.
it's so easy to fix. It is so easy to fix. I don't understand their thought process behind keeping that in a show. Maybe if they're trying to hit a certain length.
That might be part of it. Is that, like they want to talk for 45 minutes and they want the show to be 52 every week.
I don't know, man.
I don't know either. Let's just move on there and let's talk about the content itself. Is the content good enough to overcome this negativity that we have about the ads?
It's fun.
It is a really, fun show.
show.
It's a really fun show. I wanted to say here, and the first thing that I've got in my notes is, where's the sports talk? Of the 3 shows that I listen to,
It's in there.
Let's see. I listen to Ron.
Quick Hits. Quick Hits is always about sports.
I don't remember any sports content in the 3 episodes I listened to. I listened to episode 100 with Paul F. Tompkins.
Paul F.
It's the most
Tompkins
recent.
didn't. Right. Paul F. Tompkins didn't have a whole lot.
I listened to episode 85 with Natasha Leggero, which had some sports content in that they talked about how Natasha Leggero does not like sports.
Okay.
And then episode 82 was Ron Funches.
I love Ron Funches.
I want to marry Ron Funches. I want Ron Funches to have his own podcast.
Oddly enough, an episode we're going to review Girl on Guy.
Yes.
Anytime I see anybody that has Ron Funches on as a guest, I listen to that episode. Every time.
I think his episode is one of the ones of Girl on Guy that I had marked too. That might be the one that you and I share on hers. That's coming soon. Aisha Tyler's. Isn't that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, Aisha Tyler's show, Girl on Guy, coming up here on Pod. But no, back to, so I listened to these 3 episodes, and maybe it's the 3 3 guests that I chose.
Okay, so sometimes during the cold open, they'll talk a little sports bit, but it's not going to be sports. It's not going to be, ESPN has people
that are breaking it down.
That are very, we have been conditioned to expect our sports to be done in an ESPN format.
Sure.
And this one's not. It's more like you're sitting at the barbershop. Really, is what it's like. So it's like, hey, for example, they talk about bowling as being the last fortress, the last bastion of fathletes. Bad athletes.
Oh yes, because they chased them all out of golf. Tiger Woods came in and chased them all out.
So they open a show with something like that, and then that leads into a story about a kid getting trapped in a crane game at a bowling alley.
All right. So it's there. It's just it's sports from a different angle. It's, hey, do you like sports? Then you're probably going to like this funny stuff we're going to do. We're
a comedy podcast. We're going to talk about funny things. We're into sports. We're going to use sports as references.
Well,
that doesn't work in everything.
They often use sports metaphors.
Yeah,
and in several of these episodes, it was clear their guest didn't get the reference. Like they'd be like, "Oh, that's just like, I don't know, Miguel Cabrera's new contract."
They did hurt me a little bit when they talked about the little Cubs snafu at the 100th year anniversary, where they actually had a 100-year-old guy who was a Cubs fan, but he got there late, so they cut him from the ceremony.
Oh, no.
Again, that's a sports topic.
But it wasn't a score. It wasn't
right.
a scandal. It wasn't I got you. Interesting.
So the sports are there, man. You're just not used to getting your sports news in the way that they do it.
All right, one of the other things we like to do here on Pod is give the shows alternate names. Of course, people think a lot about the title of their podcast, but maybe they haven't chosen the most apropos title, the most descriptive title. So we try to give some different options out there. Sklarbro Country is the name of this one. I think they should just call it Sklarbro County, since that's what I called it for a long, long time.
I think they should call it Sklarbro Country.
Sklarbro Country County. How about the least sportsy sports show I know?
I don't think it's fair.
But it is. It's the lead. Here's what I think they did. You know how everybody got mad at the FX network because they put American Horror Story as a mini series so that it's easier for them to win Emmys or whatever?
Okay.
I feel like they looked at the podcasting realm and they were like, it's going to be hard for us to jump up in the comedy section since all of those other people are already there and established. Hey, there's nothing but ESPN stuff in the sports section. Let's just go over there.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that and take on the giant?
No, but because it's alternative programming. Like if the only people in sports are doing it one way, then you do it a different way. They've got a very different take on sports. If they were in the comedy section, it would have just been lost in the shuffle. Because they went to sports, they stick out as something different. There are lots of comedy shows where they occasionally mention a sports story.
Hey, man,
we
I
have a comedy show where we occasionally
Why-
mention a sports story.
Hey, I understand what you're saying.
Yes. Do you?
I like the guy so much, I'm going to assume they don't think that way.
All right, then.
I think they enjoy sports. I think they want to talk about sports. They just so happen to be comedians. They're going to do it in a different format.
Do you have a favorite moment from the episodes that you've listened to?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
I've got two, and I think either one of them might be interesting enough all on their own. Just mentioning them will perhaps drive somebody to check this show out. First of all, you can't put pants on the mountain.
It's true.
That was from the Ron Funches episode. And hey, that Indian lady won Best Actor.
What episode was that from?
I think that was from the Paul F. Tompkins episode.
Oh, I did. I liked the Paul F. Tompkins
It was really
episode.
good.
I like Paul F. Tompkins.
I don't know that I knew Paul F. Tompkins that well before. I don't know that I've seen him. I think I've heard him maybe on one other show before, but wasn't really paying attention. Or maybe it was on like a large panel or something.
Yeah.
But I know I enjoyed that episode thoroughly. But they were talking about, for some reason, Marlon Brando winning the Oscar, and then, he sent like his Indian guru up there to turn it down.
Yeah.
And Paul was saying he wasn't really paying attention to the TV. He looked up and he was like, there's a Land O'Lakes lady up there accepting the Oscar. Hey, that Indian lady won Best Actor.
Nice.
So overall, how would you rate this show? Every week here on Pod, we don't do it 2 thumbs up. We don't give it 4 stars or anything like that. We rate it out of 2 possible earbuds. So the whole show can get 4 possible earbuds. That would be a 4-star rating, 4 earbud rating. Only one show's gotten it so far. What do you think about Sklarbro?
I'm only going to give 2 earbuds to a show that I add to my library and listen to every week.
I think that's fair.
I enjoy the show a lot, so I'm going to give it 1 full earbud.
I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to go 1.5 earbuds. It's a very, very well done show, other than the ins and outs and the music thing that neither one of us are very high on. They've got great chemistry. It's very funny week to week.
I would probably have given it 2 earbuds.
Except for that one thing.
Yeah, I can't.
It's not the only thing holding me back from listening to it every week and subscribing to it, but it is one of the big problems that I have with it. So overall, though, I do like the show. I think it's a easy to recommend show. I think a lot of people are going to like it as they get exposed to it, especially if you're interested in the world of sports and you need a little break from ESPN. I think about all these guys that spend, day in, day out, it's nothing but talk radio on. They're listening to ESPN 24 hours a day. Hey, pop this in an hour a week and relax, man.
Yeah.
Lay back with something alternative. That's what we like, is exposing you to new shows here on Pod. Overall, the Sklarbro Country gets 3.5. 3.5 earbuds.
Yeah.
There you go.
2.5.
Yeah, you gave it a 1.5. Yeah, no, it can't get 3.5. No, yeah, it could get 3.5. I gave it 1.5, and you gave it 1. So 2.5.
Right.
I'm not so good at the maths. I'm a podcaster. So that wraps up another episode of Pod on Pod. Visit our website, podonpod.com. Make sure that you review us in iTunes. That helps other people find us. And share us with a friend. Or 2. Or 3.
At least your twin.
That's right. If you've got a brother that you happen to host a podcast with, make sure that he's following us on Twitter. Do they have a sign-off? What is their sign-off?
I don't know.
We'll see you at the sports.
No.
We'll be sportsing.
No. You can keep trying.
Keep it country.
No.
There's no R in county. Until next week, this is Pod on Pod, and there's no R in county.
Are you wanting something funny? Are you wanting something smart? A show on astral projection or the history of art? Do you want to learn a language or how to play guitar? Just leave it up to Joel and Josh. Pod on Pod. Pod on Pod.
Pod on Pod is a proud member of the Procast Network, a ProCreate production. ProCreate is a community of artists in film, music, the digital arts, and fine arts that helps connect and collaborate on projects. You can find out more at www.teamprocreate.com. For more great podcasts from the Procast Network, try Movie Buzzed. Join your host, Zach, every episode on the Movie Buzzed podcast for good friends, a good movie, and a great buzz. The Pod on Pod theme song is written and performed by Adam Dale. Find his music in iTunes and more information about him on our website. Our musical guest this week is Florals, and you can find more information about them in the description.